Welcome to the Change Agent podcast, where we are exploring the topics of leadership, project management, team building, technology, and more. The goal of this podcast is to bring you lessons learned from our experience, mistakes that we made, real-world scenarios that might help you navigate the treacherous waters of being a leader and a project manager. We strive to drive value for your organization, improve your team's performance, and I hope you're looking forward to today's episode. We've got a lot going on, so let's get to it. Hey leaders, we're back and in season 2, and in this episode 3, if you're just joining us, welcome aboard. If you've been along for the ride for a while, thank you for sticking with me. It's important that I have your support to help keep these things going. Today's episode is packed with important practical ideas that I think every project manager and leader should understand. We will be focusing our discussion today on a very specific term, value, and it's over 6 different topic items today. Recognition of value is what drives the work we do, so it's important that we spend quite a bit of time on it. Now, I talked about the 6 topic areas. What are they? The 6 topics we're going to discuss today are creating value, the value delivery system, the project management environment, revisiting project management principles, yay, focusing on value, and navigating complexity. I know, just relax. It sounds like it's as much fun as watching grass grow, and you might even think you might even be asleep right now. I don't know, but wake up. Stick with me. You're going to get something out of this. So let's jump right into it. All right, so topic 1, creating value. So let's start with that big question. What is value? Now, in episode 2 of the 2nd season, just recently published, I did dive into a little bit about what value is, but let's go a little bit further. So why do projects even exist in the first place? The reason why you're a project manager is because you want to lead and make a difference. Or you've been hired and that's the only job you got. And I'm sorry about that. No, actually, project management is quite fun. But the reason why projects exist is because they deliver something, right? A company creates projects to deliver value. They want to get monetary recognition out of it. They want to get market advantage out of it. There's something that they want to get out of it. And it's not just going into a project and creating Gantt charts or hosting meetings and showing these big fancy PowerPoint slides that show all of the green about how awesome our financials look and how they ramp right up to the moon in such a volatile environment. It's just that projects exist to deliver value, and value is what is the focus of that, right? I'm not saying that a project can't be successful if it didn't deliver a lot of value, but it has to have delivered something, right? So now value means different things to different people depending on who you ask. So for a business, like I mentioned, value might be increased revenue or cost savings. It might be the advantage of having a new product that no one else has. So for maybe a nonprofit, maybe it could be making a bigger impact in the community. For a government agency or a group, it might be delivering some public services or more capability than it was before efficiently, or something new that it just couldn't do before, or things like that. So as project managers, our job is to stay focused and stay obsessed with value. We're not just task managers, we're value enablers, okay? So when you're kicking off a project, you want to ask yourself, what does success look like? And we talked about that in episode 2. From the stakeholder's point of view, what does our stakeholder, what does our product owner, what does our customer want out of it, and what do they want to see? What value are we expected to deliver, and how do we know if we succeeded? So what does the definition of done mean in those things? Now, projects can get way off track when teams become way too focused on getting things done and forget why those things matter. So as I said before, it's important that your team knows why you're doing something, not just what they're doing. Okay. So always keep that end value in your rear view mirror, that end value in the rear view mirror, because it's going to be the compass point to where you're going. Now, the second topic, the value delivery system. So let's dig a little deeper into the system that supports all of this, because there is one, and it's important that we understand how this works, whether it's tactile practices or not. It could be just theory, right? Or psychology involved, but here, let's get right into it. So the value delivery system is kind of like a living ecosystem for your projects. It includes everything, right? In fact, it's an ecosystem for the organization. It includes portfolios, which are a collection of programs. It includes programs, which are a collection of projects. And it includes projects, which are a collection of operations, and then operations, and of course, the organizational strategy that all of this is aligned to. So the organization has a strategy. They want to be the market leader in something, let's say making bacon or potatoes, or the best French fries. And so there's going to be portfolios, which have programs, which have projects, which have operations, and all of those things need to be organizationally aligned to create value for the organization as a whole. Everything needs to be working together in order to create that value. Okay, if you have a program and it has 5 projects, and let's say out of that program and out of those 5 projects, only 3 of them are generating revenue and the other 2 are not doing anything, there's nothing wrong with them necessarily. The customer's not complained and you've never had an overrun. Your resource attrition is fine, but you're not delivering anything. What's the purpose? Because that project is costing the organization money. They'll close that down, okay, before it's over with. So here's a practical takeaway from all of this, that projects don't live in a vacuum all by themselves. They're part of a much larger system. And your role as a project manager is to understand how your projects connect to that system. So when you take on a new role as a project manager, you might want to be asking yourself, or you might not have asked this before, so you're seasoned and you just haven't heard this. How does this project contribute to the strategic goals of the organization? Are we aligned with operational realities? Are we building something that will actually work and that we'll actually use? And what does success look like when the project is closed? When the customer accepts the deliverable and signs off on it, and you're in your closing phase, your closing process, what does right look like? So when project managers understand the system, they can start managing with more context, more awareness, and more impact. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the project environment. This is really important to understand because the project environment really drives how things run, how well they run, and then what's some obstacles you might have and what challenges you might face. So there are several different types of environments, but in this particular case, we're going to discuss 2 of them. There's going to be an internal environment and then an external environment. Now, the internal environment are all the things within the organization that affect your project. These are things like the company culture, the structure, what type of leadership you have, the internal politics, the available resources, and all the processes that you have going on within the organization. Now, maybe your organization might be hierarchical and decisions take time. So these are really what I would call vertical organizations, or maybe it's super agile where you're able to get things done quickly. And so many cases, in my experience, the smaller businesses tend to be more agile. The larger businesses tend to have more red tape, if you will. And so they take more time to get things done and decisions made. But under more agile organizations or smaller ones, decisions can be made on the fly. Maybe you have enough authority to make a decision about certain things within your project. Regardless of which organization you're in, whether you're in a large one, a medium size, or small, the project manager should have all of the authority to make decisions as needed without having to go to upper level. Now, there are some decisions that obviously have to require some stakeholder buy-in, but for the most part, when it comes to the project itself, the decisions that are made regarding that project are done by the project manager. That person is empowered to make those decisions. So understanding this internal context will help you navigate approvals and help you communicate effectively and help you manage your risks and all those good things. If there was one thing that I could recommend, it would be to build relationships with key stakeholders early on. Your internal environments are much easier to manage when you have trust on your side, when you have backing by the people that are holding the resources, that are giving you money, that are giving you schedule time, or whatever it may be. You need to make sure that you're engaged with those stakeholders on the internal side to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful. Now, on the external environment, this is everything, the entire world outside of your organization. This is the external environment. This includes all the economic factors. regulatory changes, market trends, competitors, social expectations, policy, you name it. If it's on the outside, it will almost definitely influence you. I think today in 2025, April 11th, actually, we are witnessing this firsthand in the United States, which I'm currently not in, but we're witnessing that there. And so there are lots of impacts that external environments can have on a project. Now, here's a real good tip in order to help you manage external environmental impacts. This is read the news. It's not rocket science. If you're looking at the news, if you're tracking what things are going on around you outside in the world, you'll see. So keep up with your customers and what type of publications they may release, what PSAs they may make. Look at the news channels. Talk to your customers and see if you can get some insight into what's going to be what will the future hold. And these are all going to be really good ideas. Essentially, what you're trying to do is just stay current. Understand the forces that you have against you that might affect your project from the outside. There could be new legislation that could impact your budget. A supply chain issue could happen. A group can go out of business. A competitor could be launching a similar product that's better than yours. So all of those things can impact you. So project managers who are extremely aware of what's happening on the outside are better prepared and to anticipate and respond to those changes. Now, looking at topic 4, project management principles. We talked about this before in many different podcasts. These are responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty. Now, PMI emphasizes these principles over processes. Remember that. Principles over processes. And honestly, that's a really good idea. I love it. The idea that instead of adhering to a specific process or framework and how to get things done within a project, it was well done early on, but obviously not, as we mentioned before, not every single project framework fits the next project. So the principle is far more important than the process. So let's look at a few of those. I just mentioned them. We'll start with responsibility. So responsibility, you have to own your role. When in charge, take charge. That's what they say in the military. You take initiative. You need to be accountable, not just for the good things that come, but the bad things that come. Be accountable for how you lead, because responsibility means doing the right thing even when no one's watching. That's integrity and responsibility, but it means also owning your mistakes and learning from them. Next, let's look at respect. Respect, obviously, is about recognizing the value of every individual on the team. It's about listening to them. It's not just listening in any case, it's about hearing them. You can sit there all day and listen to Eric, go on about how he doesn't agree with this or that and that and that, and you walk away and you forgot it 2 seconds later. You really need to listen to your people. It's about making space for different voices. It's about realizing that you don't have to agree with everyone and that everyone does not have to agree with you. But you respect their experience and the insights that they bring. And it's really important that you take those things because they're all valuable and they all provide you some advantage to your project. Next, fairness. Fairness shows up in how we assign the work, how we resolve conflict, and how we evaluate performance. Are we being equitable? Are we being fair? Are we giving people a real shot at success? Are we putting ourselves first and no one else? Fairness builds trust, and trust builds teams that thrive. As a real-world experience on this, I recently transitioned from a PM role to a non-PM role, and I had been grooming over the last 4 years an individual gentleman who was my deputy program manager, and my intention was from the very first day that I took over as PM on the contract that I would be grooming him and others to take leadership roles. And the role that I took was actually down. It wasn't an upward role, it was a down role. And somebody asked me in my new office what I thought about that, how that impacted me, since generally most people want to go up, but I went down, I think, even Um, and I said, "Hey, have you ever played Donkey Kong?" Because Donkey Kong, you have to go up the ladders and down the ladders in order to really do well at the game. And you shouldn't be afraid to do that as a leader. If the opportunity for you is good, then it's agnostic to the direction in which you go. It doesn't matter whether it's up or whether it's down. If the opportunity is best for you, that's the one you should take. You don't need to be worried about whether or not you're going up the ladder and getting to the corner office, or getting into the clique of the 4 or 5 people that are down the hallway and getting on the best side. Let me tell you, that hardly ever pays off. It's just chasing the rat race is really not the idea. But I'm getting on a soapbox. I'm going off to the side. Off to the side. What you really need to do is just making sure that you are doing what you have to do to give people a chance to succeed in your organization. And when you want them to succeed, that means you have to get out of the way at some point. So think about that. You have to get out of the way. Whether that's you taking a new role going up, or you taking a new role going lateral, or a new role going down. You have to be willing to move in order for people to succeed. And don't be afraid to do that. And don't be afraid to tell them that. Honesty. That's last but not least, it's honesty. So let's be clear. You need to be upfront and clear with your people. You need to be transparent. Don't try to spin something that's happened that's bad, or hide delays, or whatever the other cases are. It's important that you understand that you need to be honest with your people sooner than later. Bad news, and I think everybody said this before, bad news does not get better with time. So be honest with your people early, and then take care of it. Your team will respect you more when they know that they can count on your integrity and that they can expect things. I talked about being predictable in other podcasts. If you're doing something right, your boss will be predictable and he'll do something for you for doing right and doing something good. If you're doing something wrong, you'll be predictable as a manager, and you'll do exactly what they expect. Um, hey, I'm early every day and I never miss a day of work and I always overachieve. I know Eric's going to look out for me. Or I'm late every other day. I come in last and I leave first and I do the bare minimum. I know Eric's probably going to get on me about it. So make sure that you're predictable. Remember that these aren't just simple ethics. These are performance drivers. All right. So looking at value again, this is topic number 5, focusing on value. So let's circle back to the idea of value for a moment. In fast-moving projects, it's easy to lose track of original goals. There are in really complex projects, things that are moving quick, it's really easy to lose track of what's happening, of what the original purpose was. But value isn't just delivered at the end of the project, it needs to be tracked and verified as you move throughout the project. So you can do this 3 primary ways. Engaging your stakeholders continuously, making sure that they are getting what they need, that they're happy. Reviewing your metrics often. So if you don't have a way to collect metrics, you need to be collecting metrics. Then you can be asking, the third way is you can be asking, are we still on track to deliver what matters to the stakeholder? These are 3 primary things that you need to be doing: engaging, reviewing, and asking. Now, the idea is that being outcome oriented over activity oriented is the key. Don't just measure what you're doing, measure what you're achieving. There are a lot of people out there who just do stuff and don't achieve anything. Don't be one of them. Be the ones who are achieving things. And finally, let's move on to topic 6, navigating complexity. So the last topic for today, and it's a big one, is navigating complexity. Projects are rarely simple these days. In fact, you've got diverse stakeholders, you've got cross-functional teams, you've got hybrid environments, you've got tech constraints, you've got cultural differences, and the list just goes on. So, there's a lot of ideas that, oh, well, my project will be fairly simple because it's in an environment in which I know. Yeah, well, you think that, and it might be the case, and if so, then great. But in general circumstances, you're going to have some complexity in your projects, and you need to be ready for that. Now, remember, though, as I've mentioned in previous sessions of these podcasts, complexity is not your enemy. It is a reality. It's not your enemy, though. What separates great project managers is how well you respond to that complexity. So here's some ideas you can jot down somewhere. to help you. First, you want to break things down and simplify what you can. The complex projects are starting with what's known and the facts. These could be what do I have to deliver, when do I have to deliver it, and who's going to deliver it, and what things are required to. So those basic ideals, right? Next, you'll want to stay curious and ask questions. Never assume. Ask questions. Do not assume. Ask questions. Do not assume. Assumptions, who's heard of that assumptions make out an ass out of you and me, which is the word assume? So that's a problem. You don't want to do that. You want to ask questions and get facts. And you want to corroborate those answers from those who you may not know if they have the authority to provide you the actual answer or not. And then you want to communicate clearly and you want to communicate often. And then you want to build strong feedback loops, and because complexity requires very strong communication and very strong adaptation. So remember, you're not alone. The best leaders build networks of support teams. They lean into the collective wisdom of their teams. They talk to their bosses. They talk to their stakeholders. They talk to their customers, and they ask them, how did things go previously? How was the previous person? How was the previous team? How did this go? And this is why capturing lessons learned is so important. And it's extremely important that you maintain these particular ideals of project management. Above all, empathy, honesty, flexibility, fairness, respect, all that stuff that we talked about, and understanding the internal and external environments. So that's been a lot today. I mean, I really think we've gone over a whole lot. We talked about creating and delivering value. Again, the value is something that the customer is going to get that's worthwhile to them. It could be anything, right? But as long as you're continuously striving to deliver value, your project is on its road to success. We talked about the value delivery system. We talked about internal and external environments. We talked about core principles of project management like responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty. We talked about keeping focused and navigating complexity. So if you take just one thing from today, let it be this. Project management isn't just about tasks. It's about people, its principles, and the purpose of all that you're doing. So that's a close to this episode. If you found it helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and make sure that you leave a review and share the show with your colleagues and friends and provide us some recommendations on how we can improve. If you'd like more information on how to engage with me directly, you can head over to kalinavision.com, which is KALYN as in Nancy A-vision.com, and also catch me on YouTube at Beyond the Glare or your favorite podcast platform to learn more and see how we can help you and your team get to the next level. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for the next time. Take care.